Always somewhere about 1,000 miles back. It's great to be in Beaufort County with my good friend Larry Britt. Larry, appreciate your help down here. And you know, growing up, we called this place Little Washington. I'm sorry. But then we need a little West Washington, D.C.
I never heard of Clyde left here.
Usually where I cough up a lung, of course, under Obamacare, if I do cough it up, they ain't gonna give it back to me. My name is Dallas Woodhouse, and I am the State Director of Americans for Prosperity. I'd like to think that I'm one of the few good things that ever came out of Raleigh. But we're here today for you to help us, and I appreciate you coming out here on a beautiful Saturday morning. As we look over the water of the Pamlico River, and I was thinking about that water. I was with my friend Brian Balfour. Brian Balfour, one of the best recreational boaters I've ever known, and we were talking about that water. And I tell you, I know the reason a lot of people retire and live here because that water. Doesn't it represent freedom? Get out on that boat, go east, go west, go north or south, not have anybody tell you what direction to go. Now the winds may tell you, but we don't have somebody telling us what to go. Isn't that right, Brian? Isn't that what's great about getting out there on the water? Well, folks, we're in the freedom fight of our lives. And like I said, my name is Dallas Woodhouse. And I do not want a Washington, D.C. bureaucrat deciding what my life is worth.
That's right.
Now I want to ask you some questions, but first, these signs, they ain't free, so I want to see them up in the air. I want y'all to put them up high, so we can go from Little Washington to that big crater in Washington, and let them know, hands off my health care. I want to hear it. Hands off my health care. Hands off my health care. I can't hear you. Hands off my health care. All right, that's good. Well, as you know, Washington, D.C. has decided that taking over the banks, the insurance companies, the auto companies wasn't enough. They've decided that they want to take over the healthcare industry. Washington, D.C. politicians literally want the power to decide who receives life-saving treatments and who doesn't. As recently as 2007, the president openly advocated a Canadian-style single-payer healthcare system. But let's talk about that. Recently in Canada, a man was told by the Canadian government and their big government status health plan that he couldn't have a new hip replacement surgery. The reason he couldn't have hip replacement surgery is he was too old to justify the expense. They told him to put a brace on, duct tape it, something like that for the rest of his life. Too old to justify the expense. You know how old he was? 57 years old. This man right here, he's turning 57 next year. Okay? And so 57 years old, they told him he was too old to justify the expense. Now we've heard these stories in Canada, England, and France, and other places where people talk funny. But it happens here too, guys. In Oregon, where they have a big government status healthcare program. Oregon and Massachusetts both have these, you know, big, one-size-fits-all universal healthcare plan. And there's a lady by the name of Barbara Wagner. Anybody here have heard of Barbara Wagner's story? Let me tell you a little bit about Barbara Wagner. Barbara Wagner, just recently, a month or so ago, came down with a rather obscure kind of cancer. And her doctors recommended a new type of chemotherapy drug. So Barbara Wagner's a fighter. She wants to stick around with us for a while and see your grandkids. Oregon, unfortunately, at least in my mind, I think it's unfortunate, also has a law allowing physician-assisted suicide. So the state of Oregon wrote Barbara Wagner a letter, and they said, look, you can't have these chemotherapy drugs. They're too expensive. But if you would like the pills to end your own life, we'll send them to you. And guys, that's right here in the United States. The reality is, the only way government can cut healthcare costs is to deny critical treatments to people. That's how they do it. And they do it based on a formula of when they think the cost is too much for the government to bear. For the government to bear. It is a government-first mentality that not only steals our freedom, our liberty, but potentially our lives. It is a government-first mentality that has no place in the United States of America.